Warning! The following podcast may contain language and subject matter not suitable for all ages or everyone. If you don't like what you're listening to, please press stop. You're tuned in to the Changwoner, the podcast coming to you from Changwon City, South Korea. With your hosts, Scott, Adam, and Phil.
It's the Changwoner Podcast, the podcast that brings you some of the lives of people living here and working here in South Korea and in Changwon City in particular. Once again, I'm Scott, one of the hosts of the show, coming to you every week, and the other hosts are sitting right across from me. We've got Phil. Phil, how's it going?
Yo, what up, Scott?
And sitting beside him is Adam.
What up, my man?
And this week we're going to talk a little bit about why we like Korea so much, or what has kept us here, basically. We've all been here for quite a while, especially me. And we're going to talk a little bit about what has kept us here for so long. And later on, we're going to get into a top 5. And we're going to talk about the top 5 things that were most difficult to adjust to when we first came here.
Making the transition.
All right, so let's get into why we like Korea so much. So, Adam, you've been here for how long now?
I first moved here at the end of 2007, so about 10 years. But I've also left for a couple of years in between that time.
So we've all been here a while, and obviously not the entire time, but I mean, whether we go home to visit or vacations or whatever. So you've been here almost 10 years. What are some of the things that have kept you here this long?
Well, there's a number of things I could say. I really like living here. I mean, it's comfortable. That's probably the main thing. I like the food. I like the people. I think it's pretty safe to live here. There's not much crime. And I just, it's a good way to save money. It's a good way to make money. It's a pretty easy job if you get into the groove of things, if you get into a good school especially. And here in Changwon, we have like a pretty tight-knit community. And
we tight like butt cheeks.
Yeah, we tight like butt cheeks. And we can hang out and there's not much animosity between people here. Like everyone kind of helps people out and stuff. Like it's pretty good community. So.
And Phil, you've been here about what, 5 years?
Yeah, I moved here February 2012.
Okay, so 5 years and on and off here.
Straight through.
Yeah. All right. So
never leaving. Sorry, Mom and Pop.
What are some of the things that have kept you here for 5 years?
I never thought I would ever be a teacher. My major is sports management and marketing. And so I started out physical education, and I looked at and I was like, I'll never teach. So I switched majors because I just wanted to graduate at the point.
Well, but coaching would be similar to teaching, no?
I've taught flag football and, intramural sports to kids. But I really found out that I love teaching. It's a good way to make a living. If you teach somebody and they enjoy your class, it's such a good feeling. You feel this sense of, pride. I always wanted to maybe get into something like construction or something using my hands, but I think teaching is just where it's at. And, I love my hometown, West Virginia, my home state, but I've never felt as at home than I have in Korea. Like everyone just assumes I'm Korean, and it's such a great feeling to finally feel belonging somewhere. Back home, people think, oh, you're Chinese. Like I am Korean. What makes you think I'm Chinese? So just this feeling of belonging.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. It's very unique situation for me.
Right. Which we went into last couple weeks ago, maybe. Yeah. But I'm similar. Like for me, home is where my friends are. Yeah. And when I first came to Korea, I met a lot of good people and good friends that I've kept over the years. But like you were just mentioning, it started, after a couple of years of teaching. I never really wanted to be a teacher either. But I'm at the point in my life now and have been doing this so long that I actually kind of care about, teaching kids and it is really, rewarding seeing kids getting better at something, I guess. Whether it's English or not, that's another story. But it is rewarding seeing kids improving and doing well on something. And like I think we mentioned last week, it's actually, I've met a few students that are adults now that were kids when I first started teaching them. And it's kind of nice that they remember you, B, you had some type of effect on their life, and C, their English is, a hell of a lot better, whether it's my doing or what, or introducing them to English, that you can actually, sit down, have a conversation with them type thing.
Korea is the only place in the world I've ever been complimented on my English, because people think I'm just Korean. And so I've had, some military guys like, oh man, your English is perfect. Where'd you study? And there's no real way for me to answer that without sounding like a dick. So I just say, oh, I studied in America, went to college in America. There's nothing else you can do about that.
So some of the factors that have kept all of us here for quite a while is obviously we all find Changwon, as in Jinhae, Masan, Changwon. It's quite a good place to live. You'd agree, right?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
It's the people, even everything, the way the city's laid out. Yeah. It's quite easy to find things regardless of whether you know Korean or not. It is probably as south as you can get to North Korea, which is kind of a little relaxing.
Deep south.
As far... Anyway.
I always tell people I'm Southern Korean.
Korea in general is a safe place. There's not people walking around with guns and stuff. And in the majority, I've been here for so long, I have had the odd negative occurrence
some altercations
regarding with some Koreans here and there, but it's literally, I'd say, less than 3 or 4 over, let's say, 15 years. In general, Koreans are, quite nice people. Nobody bothers you. You don't have to worry about, anytime there really is trouble, let's say if you're in a bar, people are drunk, it's usually between foreigners.
Right.
Doesn't involve Koreans, usually. Apart from Adam. Adam has trouble all the time.
He's a troublemaker.
At least in the past month or so.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
But in general, Koreans are quite nice. And even if something does, you don't usually have to worry about somebody pulling out a gun or any kind of weapon. One thing you do have to keep in mind, Koreans all know some form of Taekwondo.
Yeah. And at least some of them have military training, so they know how to shoot a gun if they ever had one.
The odds are that if a Korean decided to fight you, you're probably going to go down.
Yeah.
Well, the best thing is just walk away, man. Yeah. Just walk away.
But yeah, that's what
you will get deported if you get arrested.
I was just going to bring up the best thing is just ignore it, walk away, because there's the whole blood money thing. But anyway, all of this is irrelevant because it never really happens.
Yeah, I've never been hit.
So it's a safe country for people looking for starting a new life type thing. It's a good place to come to and start over. You can be whoever you want to be when you first come here.
You could even be Scott.
Yeah, sure. Not much to live up to.
Hey, man, you're a wonderful human being.
And another thing that I did enjoy, I don't so much anymore just because I've been here so long and because of my age. But when I first came here, travel was something that I enjoyed doing and living. It's almost like it's the heart of Asia. It's quite easy to pop over to Japan, go to Thailand, you can visit China. There's so many places that normally, coming from Canada, it would take you 13 hours on a flight just to get to any one of these places. And living kind of in the middle of everything, it's quite easy. We're talking a 3-hour flight to get to so many different places. So it's a good chance to see the world. We've all traveled. I don't know about Phil.
I haven't traveled extensively.
Phil's been here 5 years and hasn't left the city. But Adam, I know Adam has been to a few places.
Oh, I've been around.
He's been around. So that's
round, get around.
I get around.
I get up.
So that's another thing that I think is could be a good experience for people. It's an opportunity to travel and see a lot of the world.
Be somebody,
especially Asia. Food.
Oh, you guys know my affinity for the Korean cuisine. spicy soups.
I think for a lot of people, although I've seen this change in the last 5 years, especially with students, but it's such a healthier, life in terms of food and stuff living in Korea.
A lot of carbs, though. Rice and noodles.
Right.
That's true, but I mean, you get a lot of vegetables also. So.
But things like kimchi and stuff apparently are so good for you.
Probiotics helps you keep regular.
That's right.
And when I first came here, I remember going on school picnics and stuff, and kids would pull out their snacks and their lunches, and it would just be like, like kimbap, all this health stuff, no snacks.
Yeah.
Today it's changed.
Yeah, they love the snacks now.
Yeah, kids are eating
Choco pies.
They're all eating bags of potato chips, and we're starting to see that in terms of size of students and stuff. I don't know if that's a Western influence or not. Do you think it
Capitalism. Keep the kids slow.
All the junk food and it's Western influence.
Snack parties. I walked into a classroom the other day and adult students with all these home run ball, the little tiny. It's like a little air puff full of chocolate cream. It's literally home run ball, but it's home run ball.
I think I've had those.
God, that sounds great. I'm going to buy some after this.
Yeah, the little packages of it's like an air cookie kind of. It's so soft and it's really good, but it's hella fat.
And of course, there's also the job opportunity. I mean, for a lot of people, they can literally come here, for a year, work, teach, and you can save money, which is maybe something difficult back in your home country.
Most people, all you need is a bachelor's degree in any major from an English-speaking university, and that's a clean background check. And you're in. It's also nice not having to pay rent. Most people, their schools pay their rent, so every month you just pay your bills and live rent-free.
You can save money. It is relatively cheap, I think, in terms of living expenses and stuff like that. I mean, you can get a lot of stuff here. It's the same, I would say, with almost every country. I mean, Seoul is I think it might be the number one most expensive city to visit as a tourist.
Really?
I think it overtook Tokyo. I'm not sure though. But
I think Tokyo's far more expensive.
It's in the top 2 or 3 anyway. But it's not the case that takes in the fact that you're traveling with a family. You're staying at some luxury hotel.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're eating at all the best restaurants. But literally, you can go to Seoul, stay in some cheap place, which is easy to find, but still very decent. And we all know, all the restaurants on side streets and stuff. You can find, you can get, when I first came here, almost every day I would have like a complete, really healthy, big, and nice meal brought to my house for under $5.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
On the actual dishes and everything, just put down. I would eat, put the dishes outside the door, and boom, done. Back home it was more expensive to go to McDonald's and get some, whatever, not a Happy Meal, but whatever you call a bag of shit for one person.
Bag of grease.
French fries, hamburger, and a drink was more expensive than a really good meal here.
It's a bag of regret. That's what McDonald's is.
I'm loving it.
But again, the longer you've been here, obviously, the more friends you make. It has been difficult. Obviously, living here so long, you see people come and go.
Yeah, always going away party at least, 4 times a year.
But there are a lot of people that also enjoy it here and stay here for quite a long time, if not as long as you. So for me, it's just a matter of home is where my friends are. Back in Canada, after high school, say university, mid-university, people kind of spread out, in terms of what I consider my hometown. I don't know anybody there anymore. Everybody's moved along.
Friends man. Like, I know exactly what you mean. I went home for my sister's wedding a couple of years ago. And I was at the local pub with my brother, just having a couple beers. And I remember looking around and being like, I don't know anyone in here. And I used to know everyone in my hometown. I used to know everyone. They knew me. They knew like my parents. They knew all my folks. And I was looking around and I was like, holy Jesus. Like, I don't know anyone here anymore. Like,
right. All my friends are spread out throughout Canada, which is a big place, as most people would know. But apart from immediate family, I rarely, when I do visit Canada, I don't see many people anymore, apart from my brother and my parents. And even they are like a 7-hour plane ride apart from each other.
Yeah, I'm pretty fortunate when I go back home. All of my friends they live kind of close. Couple guys moved to other states, but
well, you only had a few though, right?
Yeah, all 4 of them. Nah. But I'm actually like still close with a lot of my friends from high school and university. But we're on a group chat, and I have to put it on mute because it's always popping off when I'm asleep. So it's kind of hard to like
time change.
Yeah.
Do either of you have any good friends from elementary school that you're still in touch with?
I don't think so, man.
Most of my friends I made when I was in middle school because I moved towns like 2 or 3 times. So,
but I don't know. I have some friends from high school who I'm still friends with, but there are other ones where I'd go home and they'd be like, they started a family, they bought a house, and they kind of look at me like, "What are you doing with your life?" And I'm kind of like, "Well, seeing the world." And
experience.
And part of them looks down on me, but I think another part of them that they don't like to admit is they're a little bit like secretly jealous.
Yeah.
That I've been to places like Cambodia and Thailand and fucking Vietnam, places that they could never go to now that they've been tied down,
Yeah. And I'd say for the first at least 10 years, even now, the thing that I really liked about Korea was the nightlife. I don't necessarily mean going out to bars and everything like that. I'm not a person that has gotten a lot of sleep on a typical night compared to most people. I mean, for up until the last 2 or 3 years, I would sleep 2 or 3 hours a day. That would be the most that I could sleep. I'm trying to get better at that, and just because of age, I am getting more sleep. But I've always liked the fact that Korea is a 24-hour type place, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not talking about going out to the bar, but you can literally go out any time of any time at the night. There's always something open.
Or like you can just go to a GS Mart.
There's corner stores.
Jjimjilbangs are 24/7, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like if you have nowhere to stay.
So are PC rooms.
And like, there's love motels and stuff that are cheap. But I mean, if you have nowhere to stay and you're really low on money, go to a Jjimjilbang. It's like $7.
7?
For me, it was always PC rooms.
Yeah, PC bang, yeah.
There was a time, I think O'Brien's upstairs, they just opened another O'Brien's in Busan.
Oh, is that right?
Right.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. He's not involved with it anymore. But so Austin opened up a new O'Brien's in Busan, and everybody went, to the opening in Busan. And they had a major snowstorm for Korea.
Yeah.
And
I haven't seen too much snow here.
Yeah, all the buses, everything were canceled. And there was just, nowhere to go. So I just went to a PC room. It was 500 won an hour.
Damn.
And just, got a computer, got a chair, and all right, the guy turned it on for me. All right, thanks. And went to sleep. Nice big chair.
There you go.
It's not ideal, but...
You had to make do.
And it's not because of money and shit like that. It's just, I was tired. Couldn't be arsed. This was in
Can't be arsed.
Can't be arsed. This was in Hyundai area, and all the hotels around there were just like the Marriott and shit like that, which is $300 a night.
Yeah,
and they were all full because everything was canceled in terms of getting out of the city. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go to this PC room.
You ever done a bullet taxi from Busan to Changwon?
I've done. That's the only way I've gone from Busan to Changwon.
Yeah, so you get into a taxi. They call it a bullet taxi. I don't even know if they still do this, but they did this a while ago when I was there. And you get in and you tell the taxi driver, hey, how about $50 to Changwon?
Okay.
And they'll be like, all right. And they'll drive so goddamn fast and they'll blow through every red light. It's actually, like, when I did it, I was so scared that I was like, I'm never doing this again. Like, I'm actually fearing for my life right now,
I don't think I've ever paid that much to go from Busan to Changwon, but...
We did it a couple weeks ago, and it was 40 between 4 people.
Maybe.
That's not bad.
Maybe it's different
So
now.
10 each. Actually, really good deal.
Anyway, there's a lot of good things about Korea and things that we love, but there were some things that were difficult to adjust to when we first came here. Even maybe now, there are things that are tough to get used to.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into our Changwoner top 5 things that were hard to adjust to when we first came to Korea.
It's the Changwoner Top 5. What's going to make the list this week?
So this is a Changwoner top 5 for the top 5 things that were hardest to adjust to when we first came to Korea, or even now today. So let's start off with Adam.
All right, so my top 5.
Top 5, the Changwoner.
Top 5.
Let's start with 5 to 1, let's say.
All right, so number 5, I wrote down making friends. You know, you come to a different country, and it's hard to make new friends. But that's why we have these community events where you can come and meet new people. How
many friends have you made? 2, 3?
Maybe 1.
Oh, be a friend.
Not including you, you bastard. And
still working on this room.
Yeah. So making friends is kind of hard at first, but I mean, once you get into the groove,
and you can dance.
You don't necessarily have to go out and get drunk. I mean, you can meet people. A lot of people out here, we like to go to the park. And
that's probably why it's been so hard for you.
Yeah.
Going out getting drunk.
Yeah, it has been a challenge for me. And, all right, number 4, I put down the bali mentality. In Korea, they have this bali mentality, which means like faster, go, go. And it's a little bit nerve-wracking, especially if you come from a slow-paced country. Everyone is... They just want you to do it and get it over with kind of thing. So keep that in mind if you move here. Number 3 is if you're learning the Korean language, you have to be very careful because if you use informal language to someone who's older than you or someone who has more seniority than you, they will get deeply offended by that. So keep that in mind. I mean, usually when the textbooks that you buy, they treat you or they teach you how to speak in a very, very formal way. So you probably shouldn't have any problems with it. But I mean, don't say "안녕" to an older person. You have to say "안녕하세요" or "안녕하십니까" or something like that. Number 2 is food. Obviously, the food here is going to be much different from your homeland. But please embrace it because, in my opinion, it's the best food in the world.
Bring an open mind.
There you go. And number 1 is just being seen as a 외국인, being seen as a foreigner. I literally have kids in my school come up to me and they say, 외국인이다, there's a foreigner. And you just got to accept that a lot of people in this culture, they're going to see you as an outsider because you're not, you weren't born in Korea.
Yeah. Gook is not a racial epithet. It's a...
But you could...
It just means person, right?
A lot of people, but a lot of people see this as... No, Gook is country, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. But a lot of people say... A lot of people see this as, Koreans being racist. And, I mean, you could say that maybe it is a little bit racist, but, I mean, it's just the way they are. And I don't think the majority of them see it as a racist thing. They just think you're an outsider, like you weren't born here, so you're different. And, that can't be a bad thing all the time.
All right, so that's Adam's top 5 things that were hard to adjust to when he first came here. And Phil, how about you, starting with 5?
Number 5, sometimes when you got to go. And only thing is there is the squats toilet, where it's not a toilet seat, but like just a hole in the floor.
Oh, yeah.
And it could be dangerous. It could be messy if you don't make sure your pants are clear. So those squat toilets can be a little embarrassing sometimes. Another thing, Scott kind of mentioned this earlier, is bar hours. Sometimes the bars do not close. There's been times when I've walked outside and it is daylight and you just wonder how much sleep you're going to get.
So is that your number 4?
Yeah, number 4 is bar hours. Some bars, they stay open until you leave. And, the bar patrons occasionally will kick you out, but for the most part, you can party till the sun comes up. Number 3 is the hueshik, or dinners with your students.
Staff dinners.
Yeah, staff dinners with your coworkers. It can get a little crazy some nights. I had my boss. He was drinking soju, and he drank so much he threw up. So it's kind of funny, coming to work and everyone's hungover, but it's also a little dangerous. It's a good way to build teamwork, cooperation. Number 2 is the shower system. A lot of people have these shower systems where it's connected to your sink in your bathroom. So sometimes, as a prank, some people will turn on the shower setting, so when you go to wash your hands, they'll point it at you, and you get sprayed by the shower hose.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
Yeah, or you just forget to do it. Yeah, so your bathroom's constantly wet, constantly flooded. So that could be difficult. And the number one thing is most apartments do not have a drying machine for your clothes. So you'd have to like hang rack everything. So it could be a little difficult planning out your wardrobe for the week unless you plan ahead. So drying clothes would be number one.
Yeah, especially this time of year, man, when it starts raining a lot.
Yeah, there's not a lot of heat unless you turn on your floor heater. So it's nice to have a fan next to your clothing rack to keep it a little dry, because no one likes to have musty smelling clothes. And that's my top 5. Scott?
All right, so my top 5 for number 5, for me, just because where I moved from, a big thing to adjust to was just the big city life. And I know Changwon is not one of the bigger cities in Korea. It might be in the top 5 now. I'm not sure. But compared to Canada, it was such a big city. And just the number of people, everything was crowded. Getting on elevators, getting on trains, subways, everything like that. Even just in convenience stores. Just the number of people was hard to get adjusted to for myself. And smells. You could be walking down a street and there might be a sewer somewhere near. And there's a lot of weird smells anyway in Korea.
Yeah.
Probably due to crowded, just being in a big city.
Overpopulation, yeah.
So for me, number 5 was just big city life. Number 4 was food, because for myself with allergies and stuff like that. Just not knowing the Korean language and what I was eating. Like, I'm obviously not into seafood, or certain things can be dangerous for me. And when you're living in an Asian country, which is a coastal country, and seafood is the staple, a big part of the food system, it can be difficult. I'm also not a fan of spicy food in terms of liquid spice.
Yeah.
Like soups and stuff. So
I love that.
The food here is especially spicy out of all of South Korea, I think.
I've gotten used to it, to be honest, but just still not a fan of the watery, spicy kind of stuff. So anyway, for me, food, and also, just coming from a country where, I'm a meat and potatoes type guy. My family is obviously being Irish and from Newfoundland. So, which is weird. Again, Newfoundland is seafood, pretty high intense. But just being a meat and potatoes type person and coming here and having to learn a whole new food system in terms of things to eat and stuff like that was a bit difficult. So that was my number 4. Number 3 was I wasn't used to looking up. I know this is weird. I mentioned this in one of the first podcasts that we did for the Changwoner. It was weird for me walking around with all the neon and everything everywhere when you're in a particular, not downtown, but, a main area. I'm not used to looking up at second floors. So there's so many places I didn't know existed or were there when I first came here. Like, say, pool halls, PC rooms, stuff like that. Just because I'm not used to looking up at buildings and looking at the second, third floor type thing. So just the neon, the sounds. I'm not used to hearing traffic, and we mentioned it on previous podcasts, like the people in the morning selling eggs or something. Yeah. Just banana. Obviously, again, that might refer back to the big cities, but so sounds, looking up, and the neon. Number 2 was the weather.
Humidity
is the biggest.
It's humid.
Where I grew up most of my time in Canada, Niagara Falls, it actually gets hotter in the summer there than it does here. But just the humidity and just being sticky all the time.
Oh, yeah, man.
It was really hard to get used to.
I do not like
I found the winters were really easy here in terms of it being cold and stuff, but just the summers, the humidity, the rain season, I never experienced a rain season in my life. I don't find them that bad anymore in terms of it's not like it's raining every second of every day for a month, but just,
there is usually a week or two though where it's like nonstop.
Right. So it's supposed to be about a month, the monsoon
season.
Monsoon season. So I'm not used to the weather here, or when I first came here. I'm used to it now, but when I first came here, it was a little difficult. So that was my number 2. And number 1 was just the amount of changes. Everything changes here so fast. Like, I would find something that I liked, especially restaurants, and go to. Mm-hmm. And then go home and, over the course of a weekend, come Monday, I would go back out and it would be an entire new business.
Yeah.
Like things just, Adam was kind of referring to the Bali system, but things here change so fast, and including people. People come and go. Time goes fast, and time is the biggest thing for me. Like when I first came here, I still have it, but time just flies sometimes. Yeah. Like a week will just go by and, snap of your fingers, and it's like, holy shit, I've been here for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Not crazy. So much anymore, but still does. So anyway, yeah, so time and things changing is my number 1. Mm. So we have Adam's top 5. Number 5 was making new friends. 4 was the Bali system, or things, everything being a rush. Number 3 was kind of just the Korean language in general.
Yeah, you got to be careful what you say to older people.
Number 2 was food. Mm-hmm. And number 1 was just being seen as a foreigner.
Yeah.
Kind of pointed out because you're not Korean.
Yeah, and, being treated as an outsider. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit disenchanting. Is that the word? Disenchanting?
Sure.
It is now.
It is now. I just made up a word. And
it is a word,
it's just kind of like, like you feel like an outsider, and sometimes it can get lonely,
And Phil, number 5 was squatters.
Yep.
Just the toilet system. Number 4 was
bar hours.
Bar hours, yeah. So
all night parties.
Just being able to go somewhere and stay out because nobody's telling you to go home. Correct?
Correct.
Number 3 was staff dinners and stuff like that.
The hueshik.
Right, so having to go out and do something that you don't really want to do, basically.
Mandatory optional dinners.
Number 2 was the shower system and how it's connected to your sink. So occasionally you might turn on your sink or somebody sets it up so that you get a little wet, not wanting to get wet.
Yeah.
And number 1 was dryers. Just the whole, at my school we call it the wet dog syndrome, especially during the rain season. Foreigners kind of, to Koreans anyway, have their own smell, but the whole dampness, you have to plan ahead.
It's a struggle.
You have to plan ahead.
And I never fold my laundry. I just leave them on the racks forever until the rack is empty. I'm like, well, I guess I got to do laundry again.
So, yeah, just drying clothes. All right, so now we're going to come up with a final top 5.
The ultimate 5.
The ultimate 5 things that were hard to adjust to when we first came here. It's kind of hard because obviously all the things that you guys mentioned were the case when I first came here, plus more. I mean, things are a lot different.
Was there anything you didn't mention that maybe...
Quite a few. I mean, when I first came here, it was kind of like a rock star. Mm-hmm. I would go to bars. I would come, go in bars and people would want to sit with me.
Buy you shots.
Buy me shots, which I didn't mind that much back then, but...
Now...
I'd walk out of places and Koreans would always stop me and ask for a photo or for me to sign something. I remember going to some nightclubs and, the whole booking thing. Mm-hmm. You can go to a nightclub and book a girl.
Yeah.
But when I went to them, I was constantly getting booked. Girls would just come to our table. So waiter or whatever you want to call him,
maitre d',
was always coming to my table and like, all right, you got to come over here. All right, you got to come over here. And I'm not complaining about it.
Who would?
But it did get annoying.
not cheap.
But all the things that you mentioned, like let's say starting off, there's a lot of things that for me I could cancel out with both of your top fives. Like the dryer thing, it is changing. And I know a lot of new teachers, even the new teacher at my current school, they have the washer dryer combo.
Dual one.
Some of those things don't really work though. Like I've had people tell me that they put it in there, but it doesn't actually dry it.
Can they figure it out though? I mean, I'm not saying it's easy to use, but they do work on some level, and it probably works better than hanging them on a.
You know, I might actually have one of those machines, and I just never knew it, but I'll look into it.
So anyway, a dryer is possible, but I found that very annoying when I first got here. Shower system, it's a nuisance. Not every house has it. I mean, I don't have it in my current house.
Yeah.
It's more common in apartments and studio.
But it was one of those things that you had to get used to at the time. It's easier to clean your bathroom, though, with it.
Do we have anything that was common?
Food, I think.
Food? All of us said food on some level.
I didn't say food.
No, but you and I did.
I grew up on it, so a lot of the food wasn't a big issue at all.
So we have making friends, squatters. See, squatters I would eliminate because they're not too existent anymore.
Are there squatters in this building?
I have no idea.
There are. There are.
Really?
Yeah. Every level. So,
really?
Mm-hmm. You can go in there right now.
And you know that squatters are actually better for you?
Yeah, but it's
healthier for you to poop.
When's the last time you used a squatter?
I had to years ago at my old school, and I also took my pants off because I was afraid I was going to shit all over my ankles.
Yeah, it's dangerous, especially if you've had a couple drinks.
Yeah.
All right, so let's come up with a number 5.
I really liked humidity.
Humidity's good, yeah.
Yeah.
Humidity?
Yeah.
Number 5? Not
number 5, but I'm just saying from the ones that
would make the list.
Yeah, I would put that in the list.
The weather. All right, so we'll start with that. What would make the list? Weather, food.
Food could be a
2 out of 3.
Be a 4, yeah.
No, it was easy for me. Not much of a transition. My mother's Korean, so had a lot of kimchi.
How about the bali?
I kind of had that.
What?
Just the whole. I tie that in with a big city, so
all right.
Everybody
big city.
Everybody being in a rush.
Yeah.
Yeah. The rush.
The rush.
I don't know exactly what it was like, where each of you are from, but was it hard adjusting to a big city? Was it more populated here than it was for you?
Well, no, I lived in Toronto for 4 years, so it wasn't. I mean, Toronto's obviously a lot bigger than Changwon, but
I've lived in Toronto too, but I never found it like it is here.
That's true.
Another good one is the formal language.
To language? Yeah. Let's say
language. I mean, if you're going to learn Korean, you got to learn it properly, right? You don't want to offend people.
Yeah. Which is...
I've never seen you care about that.
Fuck you.
That's your elder.
There you go.
Respect your elder, son.
Yeah. Every time you take a sip of that beer, you should be turning your head towards me.
Yeah. That would also tie in with the huishik because, you have to hold your hand in a certain way when you're pouring or receiving a drink. So I think formality is something you can...
Some manners.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, manners.
Korean manners.
Maketh the man.
That's right. Bowing and all that stuff too.
You guys ever had an awkward bow? Sometimes if I'm driving a car and I have to go through a security, and so I'm driving and I'm bowing, or if I'm going down the steps and someone's coming up, it's really hard to bow to someone while you're going down steps without almost killing yourself.
That's true.
Yeah, formalities can be a little tricky. I waved at an older gentleman once, and he got mad at me because I didn't bow to him. So,
all right. So we have weather, food, everybody being in a rush, the language, Korean manners. Anything else before we figure out the order?
So no clothes dryers or bar hours? I thought those were pretty decent.
I thought being a foreigner was a big one.
Again, I don't have that problem.
is different for you, I'd say, than...
You're what, a gyopo?
I think gyopo is a Korean that was born like in America, but I'm mixed, so I'm not technically a gyopo.
Okay.
Let's look at it in terms of 2017, somebody that was coming now that might find things difficult. I mean, 16 years ago, things were different in the country and for me than they were for Adam and they were for you in terms of what time period we got here. So you don't think population, like being crowded, it's not really an issue?
I mean, a lot of people come from big cities too.
I think Seoul, if you go to Seoul, yeah, but not here.
The Changwon area it's big, but not...
Dryers, I think you can get it.
It's expensive, though. I mean, most places wouldn't...
Most apartments and like office towels and stuff have them in the house now. I mean, my current school didn't buy a washing and drying machine for our new teacher. It was just in the apartment. That drying clothes, I mean, it can be a nuisance, but it's not going to make me decide to jump out a window or something.
I mean, that could be the case for a lot of the things, though.
Yeah. Say these 5 things?
Yeah, I'd say those 5 are good.
I'm going to figure it out.
I thought there was only 4.
Well, we got a mix. So we got weather, food, everybody being in a rush, the language,
and the manners.
Just basically the culture, right?
Formalities.
Yeah.
You know?
Being polite.
Yeah.
We can tie that in with being a foreigner.
And that works both ways, you know, like if somebody is Korean, if they piss you off, sometimes they smile when they apologize. And that really got me angry the first time because I didn't realize that Koreans, when they smile, when they apologize, they're trying to alleviate the situation. They're trying to
They do not like confrontation at all.
Yeah, they're trying to make it like, hey, you know, sorry I fucked up kind of thing. But like, I saw it as being like, this is not funny. Why are you smiling at me? But then over the years, like I realized like, oh, they're trying to make it not, like you said, like non-confrontational kind of thing.
All right, so number 5. Let's figure out number 5. What is the 5th most difficult thing to adjust to? Food?
Food, yeah.
Food?
Food's great here.
I'm not saying it's bad, but for some people, it might be. It's different for you because you had some Korean food while you're growing up type thing.
Korean fusion. Southern Korean
number
fusion.
5, food. Number 4,
maybe the Bali thing.
The rush.
Yeah, that's higher up for me though.
Okay.
But comparing to the language, there's never been an issue for me. If anything, I mean, when I first came here, there was no English anywhere.
Yeah.
And my first year here, I learned and used more Korean than I do now.
Yeah.
And I think these days you don't have to learn or know any Korean to easily get by.
Yeah, that's true.
In Korea.
Yeah, but that's not just the language though. That's just bowing, and you know, there's a lot more into it.
We got that separate. That's
formalities.
The Korean culture and manners is something separate. Just
all right, yeah,
communication.
Let's make 4 language then.
Language communication.
Okay.
Number 3.
Rush. Bali.
Everybody's in a rush.
Yeah.
That would make number 2 the Korean culture.
Yeah, the formalities, right? And then number 1 is the weather.
Yeah.
That's pretty solid.
So the humid summers in particular. I mean, there are obviously going to be some people here that come here and find the summers quite easy, but at the same time, those people are going to find the winters quite difficult here.
That's true, yeah.
Whether they're from South Africa or...
Oh, yeah, like the winters and the summer, polar opposites, man.
For me, winters are quite easy here, but summers are... I just don't like being sticky. All right, so our top 5 final of things that were difficult to adjust when we first came here, or for people that are coming here, we might find something hard to get used to is number 5 is food. Number 4 is the language or just communication. Number 3 is the Bali system, or the Bali sickness, I think is called here. So just people are always in a rush. There's a lot of road rage, and not road rage, but
aggressive driving.
You definitely have to be aggressive in terms of getting things done here. Number 2 is just kind of the Korean culture in terms of manners and the, respecting people who are older than you, which you two have to work on. And number 1 is the weather. So summers are really humid here and it's very sticky. The type of, almost every summer, it's the type of summers where you jump in the shower because you're all sticky, and by the time you turn the water off, you're already sticky again. And people that are used to the heat and the humidity would probably find that the winters are difficult here. So regardless of where you come from here, you're either going to have a difficult winter or a difficult summer. So that's the Changwoner top 5 for this episode. And just to wrap things up, just to keep in mind experiences and things like our top 5 this week are going to be different for everybody. Obviously, it depends on where you come from. I mean, like for myself, coming from a small area in Canada, it was difficult adjusting to the number of people and the crowds in the big city here. But if you're moving from a big city, obviously it's not going to be a big deal for you. So everybody's kind of top 5s and things they would adjust to might be slightly different.
Yeah, if you have any input on this, feel free to contact us and we can maybe give you a shout out.
Yeah, leave your comments on what you think. For people that are here anyway, leave your comments on what you think are some of the most difficult things you had to adjust to. I'm guessing because obviously the podcast is mostly males on the show, like the 3 of us. It could be different for a female teacher here.
A female.
I know I've heard from some females here that certain things can be hard to adjust to. In terms, it goes back to relating to the culture and stuff. But so let us know what some of the most difficult things it was for you to adjust to when you first moved here in the comments. And for people that want to get in touch with me, you can get a hold of me via any social media at the Changwoner, or you can email me directly at scott@changwoner.com. Phil, how can people get in touch with you?
Phil@changwoner.com.
And Adam?
Adam@changwoner.com.
All right. And you can get, obviously, in touch with either one of them on Facebook. The links are always in the show notes for each episode. Just a reminder, we're going to be doing an episode coming up where we are going to answer questions or comments from listeners out there. So if you have any questions or comments regarding Korea or any of us, just send them to podcast@changwoner.com or any social media, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Just send us your questions and we'll be getting a hold of them. And also, we're going to be releasing apps for the show probably by the end of this month. I'll be posting something regarding our apps and when they'll be available, so just keep an eye out for that. So that's this week's episode of the Changwoner Podcast.
That will be it for this week's episode. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Changwoner Podcast and would like to remind you to please share, like, rate, comment, or leave any kind of feedback you like on iTunes or website, Facebook, or whatever media you are listening to us on.
Did you say rape?
No, I didn't say rape. If you would like to be... If you would like to be a guest on the podcast or have anything to promote on the show regarding the Changwon area, please email us at podcast@changwoner.com or get in contact with us via any social media. Tune in for next week's episode, and until then, remember, please share and become a Changwoner today. 10-4, good buddy.
Thanks for tuning in to the Changwoner Podcast. Stay tuned for our next episode.